Bonjour, Kinabagene Ireland Dishnikas, and welcome to this math enrichment lesson. Today's edition, solving single variable equations. Let's look at some vocabulary today. And yes, this session is from algebra, and you've heard me all year referring to algebra isn't when you just put the variable or a letter at the end and say solve for it. It was really no different than solving any other equation. But now we're going to actually do some algebra. And this is from mathisfun.com. And if you do a Google search for this topic, you can find it, but you may also look at Introduction to Algebra over the summer, because you will see some pre-algebra during 6th grade. The more you prepare when you have downtime for middle school, the more likely you are to be successful. So first, what is an equation? An equation says that two things are equal. See, equa in equation. So whatever I do on this side, the x plus 2, has to be equal to what's on the right, which is a 6. So an equation is a statement like this equals that. Now in your head, you could say, well, what plus 2 equals 6? And you're like, okay, 4 plus 2 equals 6. Yep, you've got an equation. And we'll talk to you a little bit more about how to solve those during the course of this lesson. There are parts of equations that have names. And while those names won't be used so much here in this 5th grade lesson, it's a good idea to have that exposure. And this is the equation 4x minus 7 equals 5. So I have an operator, that's my operation. And in this case, it's subtraction. A variable is a symbol for a number we don't know yet. It's usually a letter like X or Y, but it could be M, N, G, B, whatever. In all honesty, which letter you use for the variable isn't mathematically important. However, I do recommend that you not use things like O and I and L. Probably wouldn't use S or X or T as to not confuse you. If you're really right neat penmanship, you might be okay. But we all know that an O and a 0 look a lot alike. I just strongly recommend you not use those ones. The number on its own is called a constant, and we have two constants. No matter what happens over here in the coefficient and variable, I'm going to have to take away 7 in every one of these equations. And my answer is going to be 5, no matter what happens over here in this problem. A coefficient is a number used to multiply a variable. 4x means 4 times x. So 4 is a coefficient. So yeah, this isn't 4 times a negative 7, which you may have garnered from when you're doing elementary math. This x being a variable stands for a number. So we have 4 times x minus 7 equals 5. And we'll talk in a moment how to solve that one too, just for a little funsies. The problems you get today will not be that complicated. Variables on their own without a number next to them actually have a coefficient of 1. So if I just had, there was no 4 here and it just said x minus 7 equals 5, I would know that the coefficient is 1. Sometimes a coefficient is a letter like a or b. So you have ax squared plus bx plus c. Yeah, you will do this one some other day. We're not doing that today. So you're good, but they just want to tell you that a and b are coefficients and c is a constant. Don't worry, you're not doing that today. An operator is a symbol, like we said, that shows an operation. And we call each of these parts a term. 4x, so the coefficient, the variable is one term. The constant of of 7 is a term, and the constant of 5 is a term. And there are a lot more terms when we have more than one variable that I'm not going to expose you to today, as to not completely scare you. So let's talk about solving this problem for a minute. One of the things, and I'm going to write it over here in something other than that light color. I have 4x minus 7 equals 5. You're going to learn in this upcoming years that we do a lot of things with inverse operations. So I know that if I'm taking away 7, how do I undo that? Well, I add 7. If you gave me $7, I undo that transaction by giving you $7. But because of this equal sign, I have to do whatever I do on both sides. So when I do something like this, 5 plus 7 is 12. This will get erased because they undo each other. And now I have 4 times x equals 12. Well, this is multiplication. So what's the opposite of multiplication? I divide. So I divide 4 by 4, and I divide 12 by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so that makes it a coefficient of 1, so I can just have the x. I don't have to write the 1. And what's 12 divided by 4? You're right, it's 3. So let's see if that works. 4 times 3 is 12, because I plugged that 3 into x. So that's multiplication. 12 minus 7 is 5. We have solved it. Now, you won't be doing problems this complicated today, but I want you to kind of see what it looks like. So I clear the screen. Now let's get another share here of a whiteboard, and we're going to practice a few more problems. Sorry, you got to see me. That didn't quite go to plan. So we have some problems here, and this is how it's going to be written on the first part of your page. So we're going to look at the two sides separately. Let's say I have 12 minus x when x equals 4. So how would I write that? Well, or to solve it, well, I have to plug 4 in for x. So now I get 12 minus 4. And what's 12 minus 4? It's 8. We have solved the problem. Let's say I have p, and I'm going to use this symbol here, to the third power when p equals 3. So remember too, and I'm going to use the drawing tool here, that this will also be written like this. And if this is a 3, that tells me that I'm going to go 3 times 3, which is 9, times 3 is 27. So p cubed is 27. 3 times 3 times 3. Let's say I have a problem. Let's go 5 over, let's go k, when actually, let's go 25 over when k equals 5. So 25 over k when k equals 5. What do? I plug the 5 in. So now I have 25 over 5. And what is that? How many times is 5 going to 25? You're right, 5. So is 25 over 5, 5? Yep, we've done well. Let's say I have 5n when n equals 6. What do? I plug the 6 in here. So now I have 5 times 6. I'm going to use the dot here, which equals 30. So on one of the sides of your practice today, you're going to be given a page, and the first one is 16 minus x when x equals 5, or at 6, x equals 5. And you're just going to plug the number that they gave you into the variable. So no matter what they tell you, n equals, you're going to plug that in and do the operation. There is going to include some exponents, some division, and then we're going to write the division such as a fraction. So 5, oh, let's go 6. 6 over m plus 1, and m equals 2. I simply plug it in. So it becomes 6 over 2, which is division, plus 1. So 6 over 2 is 3. You add the 1, and you get 4. So that's all the first part of this is going to go today. But wait, there's more. Let's clear the drawings. You're going to get a chance to solve some equations. Yeah. I know you're excited. I am. Really am. I know y'all can do this. So I have 10 equals x plus 2. How am I going to solve this? First, I see I have addition on this one. What's the opposite of addition? It's subtraction. So to get rid of this, because we want our variable to be by itself. Variables by nature are loners. They don't like being with other they don't like having anything else with their term. So the opposite is of adding to is subtracting to, and that's going to eliminate it. But if I'm going to do it on this side of the equal sign, and there's my equal sign, I have to do the same thing over here. So now 10 minus 2 is 8. I have the x. Those two parts get wiped out because they're opposite. Again, if I give you $2 and you give it back to me, we're back to even. It's 0. So x equals 8. You can check your work by plugging your 8 in here. Does 10 equal 8 plus 2? The answer is yes. Then you've done good. This is really now going to be where sometimes checking your work is going to have a more real life value as you move into algebra. Now, whether you write it out or do it in your head is sometimes going to be a choice, sometimes not really going to be much of a choice. You're going to see it and say, oh, yeah, I definitely want to do that. Let's look at just a couple more. Let's say I got 7y equals 49. This one is multiplication. And you see my coefficient is 7. So what's the opposite or inverse operation of multiplication? It's division. So I'm going to divide by the coefficient, 7 divided by 7. But I have to do it on this side of the equal sign as well. So now 7 divided by 7 is 1. So I don't have to write it there. It's just there. And now I have y, so it's alone. And then how many times is 7 going to 49? And you could check your multiplication facts. It's an even answer. Y equals 7. Let's say we have an addition or a subtraction problem. Y minus 4 equals 12. We have, if it's subtraction, what's the inverse or opposite of subtraction? It's addition. So notice I put the 4 on both sides of my equal, even though I didn't write it out. Everything is kind of like that. So the if you gave me $4 and I give it back, we're back to square. So that's gone. So then we have y equals 12 plus 4 is 16. And I could check, is 16 minus 4 12? Absolutely. You've done good. And let's do one more. Let's say 3n equals 24. This is multiplication. So what do I divide by again? The coefficient. So I need to divide both sides by 3. That eliminates the coefficient. And 24 divided by 3 is 8. And I can check, is 3 times 8 24? Yes. And let me do actually one more. Y over 2 equals 4. That's division. I'm dividing by 2. So what can I do? I can multiply both sides by 2. This 2 over 2 leaves this as just a y. Notice I multiplied by whatever my denominator was. And then I multiplied on this side, and 4 times 2 is 8. And I can check my work. Is 8 divided by 2 4? Yes, we've done good. This is, I know, a very new topic to you, and you should definitely reach out to teachers and peers to help you get through this. The purpose, again, is to help you be exposed to what's coming up in 6th grade without having to worry about tests and quizzes. At this point, I'm going to encourage you to go into the Google Classroom, do either the Google form or the paper copy. If you're doing the Google form, make sure you hit submit at the end. You can use scratch paper to help you find the answers. If you're doing the paper copy, there should be room on both sides to write it right on the paper and turn it in. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at mireland@zagchipschool.net, and I can talk with you and help talk you through these equations if necessary. But for right now, have a minogijigad, minwa, bamapi.